everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Tetra Travels. In December, I was lucky enough to go to Qatar for the World Cup. It's been a bit of a dream of mine to go watch England play in a World Cup ever since I was 6, watching England lose to Argentina in France '98. So to actually finally go do that was amazing. This is a bit of a video of my trip. This is part 1, and it will be sort of covering my first couple of days in Qatar and the England quarter-final. As I say, an amazing experience, and I'd just like to take you all on for the ride of like what is one of the best trips I've ever done, but also what was it like being in a sort of Middle Eastern country from an access point of view, a place where there's been lots of infrastructure being built, and yeah, I hope you enjoy the video, and yeah, it was, let's say, amazing. I hope this video somewhat captures how much I enjoyed it being out there. I'm aware there's people out there that maybe won't agree with me going to Qatar or just the World Cup being there in general. I know there's issues to do with the building of the stadium, sort of human rights, rights of LGBT and of women, and many more. Now, I'm not trying to poo-poo those by going to Qatar and doing this video. I do believe they're important, and I'm hoping that this World Cup can be a catalyst for change in the country. I'd like to see where they are in a decade, and see whether we look back at this as a changing point or not. So yeah, I'd be interested to see what happens there. I also think we need to look at ourselves and our own countries. I think there's still issues of equality, like in our own backyard, and that we need to make sure equality is for all and everywhere. And I'll also be interested to see what happens in USA in 4 years' time, whether the sort of rhetoric will be sort of similar there. I think there's definitely issues there. Things like the abortion rights and LGBT rights in America have issues too. So I feel like we need to keep this up and sort of put pressure on nations to make change through things like sport. And I truly believe sport can change things. So that's why I didn't feel quite so bad going. And I'd like to sort of make this video just about my experience, what I saw of the country, and see it as maybe a positive thing that can enact that change. And yeah, I know things like the slavery and the deaths were not good, and I'm not trying to diminish any of that, but yeah, I want to slightly separate out this video from those issues and sort of do my own thing going forwards to encourage equality in the ways I can and the way I live. So we've just arrived in Qatar. We're sat in the airport for a couple of hours before we can check into accommodation. The flight with BA was actually really good. The staff were really attentive and looked after us really well, so that was a big thumbs up. The assistants came really quickly and helped us onto the plane really well. So we were first onto the plane, which is rare. And at the end, yeah, they got us off not too bad. It took a little while for the wheelchair to arrive, but yeah, we got through the airport pretty smoothly. So far, so good for Qatar, and yeah, we'll see how things continue. We waited at the airport for a couple of hours for accommodation to open, but once we knew it was fine, we got this bus to the hotel. It was accessible with a sort of ramp at the back with one wheelchair seat, and the rest of it was all to ourselves. They overcharged us at 150 Real, which we later found was far too much, but it was yeah, very accessible and got us to where we needed and all of our luggage, so very good. So we've just arrived at our accommodation and it's fairly decent. We've got like a lounge area over there, a bathroom with a toilet. It's got a little ramp, and although the bath isn't accessible, the floor has got a drain in it, so I can reach the shower over and I can shower in the floor there. We've got a corridor going down that way that leads to another shower sort of room with a toilet, and my bedroom. And then opposite me, opposite this end of the corridor, we've got another bedroom. So I'll spin around and show you that from a different angle. Looking the other way, we've got sort of a kitchen area here. And then we've got the second bedroom over here with another 2 beds in it. So I'll just show you the bedrooms. So this is one of the bedrooms. Yeah, fairly decent. It's got some nice sized beds. Nothing too fancy, but it'll do the trick. And I've definitely stayed in worse. And the staff have been very helpful. I'll show you in my room, they've added an extra mattress to raise the height of the bed for me. The kitchen is decent. It's got a fridge, an oven, microwave, some countertops, and a washing machine in the corner over there. It did have a couple of cockroaches, but not too many, and we killed them straight away, so hopefully that's not the end of the world. As I say, I've lived in Africa before where we've had a way bigger problem than that, so I'm not worried at all. It's one of those things you have to deal with when you come to sort of foreign countries. Most of the rooms have aircon, including the bedrooms, which is really helpful. We've turned it off at the moment, but we might need it later on in the holiday. One of my only points of contention is that there's a little step up into the kitchen, which is a bit frustrating, considering it's an accessible room. But it's not awful. In a manual chair I can get up that, and as I won't be cooking much, I'm not too worried. The lounge area is a fairly decent size with a TV, a sofa. Yeah, nothing too fancy again, but yeah, it's got what we need. They also supply us free water whenever we want it, so that's really helpful. One little awkward thing is that both bathrooms have this little ramp into it. It's not the end of the world, but it's not the easiest to get up. It could do with being a bit shallower, but it'll certainly do, and considering where we are, I'm pretty pleased with what at least they've tried to put things in place. And actually the worst thing about the whole place is the second bathroom, which is meant to be the accessible room, but you can see the shower has a step up into it, so that's frustrating. However, as I say, there is a drain in the floor, so I could stretch the shower and do it in there, but I'm going to use the bathroom, which is slightly bigger, and the shower hose does stretch, so it's not the end of the world. Just one of those things they've not really thought through properly. They did actually have 2 handrails, but I got them to remove one just because it suits me better, but there was the option of having 2, and as I say, the staff have been really helpful and accommodating. So this is my bedroom. Yeah, not the best of views, but not the end of the world. So there's 2 beds, and as I say, the staff came and they put an extra mattress on my bed, so it's raised it up for a height that I can transfer in and out of better. So that's really, yeah, I'm really pleased with the staff and how they've helped. There is also a cupboard, and it's got a safe in it, so everything here is sort of that we need, all the basics. Yeah, it's nothing fancy, as I say. I wasn't expecting 5-star for the price I paid, but frankly it's all I could afford, and it means I get the opportunity to come and see the World Cup, so more than happy. Centre of Doha, looking forward to exploring. We were knackered after flying all night, so we just went round the corner and found a local kebab place. It was an Iranian place, but really delicious food, salad and meat on kebabs, really delicious. We actually ate there a few times. Didn't look like the sort of place many tourists would go to, but we really loved it. And yeah, as I say, I think the 3rd day we also ate there, and a couple of days later we had some lunch, so it was one of our favourite spots in Qatar. The next morning we started off with a nice karak tea, the sort of sweet Arabic tea. It was absolutely delicious, and some food, just a few sort of Indian sort of bitey bits, before heading over to the National Museum of Qatar. It was about a 15-minute walk, and it wasn't the easiest, but yeah, a really amazing museum. So we've taken a walk out to the National Museum of Qatar. It's been a bit tricky getting here, like some of the up and down curbs weren't so easy, but actually as you get to the nicer, more modern section, it was all fairly good, so yeah, not too bad. Our hotel is a bit of a walk away, there's not too much transport around the area, and we stopped off some lunch that I'll just put a bit of footage. We had a bit of pakora, a bit of like onion bhaji sort of things, and some chicken things. We weren't quite sure what we were going to get, but it was very tasty, and yeah, look forward to trying some more local food later on. The museum was really interesting, having exhibits from things like cars to sort of the culture of nomadic people, animals, wildlife, and just the history of Qatar and the Arabic region. So I'd definitely recommend a visit when you go there. And these are actually the rocks that they designed the building to look like. So if you're ever in Qatar, it's very accessible, good toilets, and yeah, definitely worth a visit. So we've just been round the museum and we're in sort of a palace section of the museum. It's really fascinating and the building is like absolutely stunning. The way they've taken a concept of like a desert rock and made a building out of it is really quite amazing. Yeah, certainly a good day out and a good visit around, so yeah, having a really good time. After the museum we went round the corner to a restaurant called Smat. It's meant to be one of the best places for Qatari food. It was a bit on the pricier side, but it was also just a really great experience, really good food, and nice to sort of try a bit more of a dearer meal one night. We also saw Brazil get knocked out by Croatia there while we were eating, which was really good to watch. And yeah, just the atmosphere was really nice. So I definitely recommend it if you can afford to have a bit more of a pricey night. It wasn't like ridiculously expensive, but yeah, it cost more than the other places we ate, which were just sort of local eats. My selection of food. So we got some shrimp, some lamb things, and some other thing. I can't remember what they are, but we then had a selection of nice rice dishes, chicken, prawns, really delicious, and one of them included black lemon, which is a local thing that I've never had before. It's basically a dried lime, and then we sort of finished off with some dessert, some brownie and some sort of creme brulee with local spices. Absolutely delicious. We then went off to bed, walked home and sort of prepared for the next day, which was game day for England. So I wanted to get an early night and be prepared for that, although we were planning on having a lazy day the next day. The next day we sort of kept quiet, just so we could enjoy the game in the evening. We weren't sure what the taxi situation would be like getting a taxi, so we just didn't plan to go anywhere apart from the football. In the end, it was actually quite easy to get taxis. You just had to phone the number, and they also gave you a really discounted price of 35 Real for an accessible cab. We we found them really useful. They were harder to use getting out of the games, but to generally get around Qatar, they were actually really good and really cheap. So I was very pleased with that, actually, even though I was really worried at the beginning that I wouldn't be able to find a cab. On our way to the game now, we actually managed to get a wheelchair taxi. It wasn't too easy to get, to begin with. You had to book it 1 hour in advance, so we weren't actually sure if we were going to get one. But thankfully one was available, so yeah, we're heading up to Al Bayt now, so about a 45-minute drive outside of the stadium. The bus is fairly decent, it's like a massive one for just the four of us, but yeah, like hopefully you get there soon. Looking forward to the game, and yeah, hopefully England bring it home. We got a bit keen and we're the first here, so yeah, empty car parks everywhere. Yeah, so we got it so early thinking there would be like somewhere to watch the Morocco game, but there's nothing, so literally the car parks are empty, there's not a single soul in the area, we're in the middle of the desert, and fancy coming to the Middle East and it being freezing, we got no jumpers. One advantage, you do get a nice beautiful sunset. Beautiful sunset in the desert. Just been through the security, they had to do a search of me, but it wasn't too bad. Checked my bags, but they didn't get rid of my water, so that was fine. Now we're gonna head over and find our way into the stadium over there, and yeah, see what the game's like. Come on, England! Absolutely amazing stadium. It's done like a nomadic tent, like the how they traditionally have in Qatar in the desert. They had free face painting outside the ground, so you got to go all out, haven't you? And yeah, got my England hat on, looking like a knob, but that's how you're meant to play. We then did manage to find somewhere to watch Morocco knock Portugal out of the World Cup, just the last few minutes. It really united all the fans, all the England fans, the Morocco fans, and the locals. So it was a really entertaining way to sort of start the night before the England-France match. We then headed into the stadium to find our seats. Again, the access was really good, it had good toilets. The only complaint would be that the toilets were in either the men's or the women's. But yeah, that was fine. And our view was actually really good. There was no one restricting us in terms of head height, so amazing view.
Number 5, John Stone!
Unfortunately, England lost the game despite playing really well, so it wasn't to be our night. But as I say, the stadium was really good, the view was good, the fans were great. Actually, the lack of alcohol throughout the whole tournament, I think, made a better atmosphere, dare I say it. There was no sort of violence. I saw sort of issues. I mean, when I went to the Euro final, that was not a nice experience at Wembley. There was sort of violence. We actually got caught in a fight. People sort of trying to sort of ram through the disabled entrances to get in, and we got caught in the middle of that. So this was a much better experience. Yeah, but it's just a shame it didn't go our way. It was really cold, so we did actually have to buy a jumper at half time. So we spent a bit more money than we maybe would have wanted. But yeah, we also had the guy next to us who was French, so at least someone enjoyed their night.
Absolute heartbreak. Did deserve to lose that. Oh, awful. At least we got a way out of it.
كتف على الكتف محلى صفيتها على احلى بلادي والله لطريتها على دلعانه واحلى ميكونه
So we're in the taxi home now, about 10 minutes away. It's nearly 3 in the morning, Doha time. Getting out of the stadium was a bit of a nightmare. We had to find our way, and then when we did get there was no accessible taxis for about 40 minutes. So not the best of organisation, but we did get some helpful staff that helped us out and guided the taxi to where we were. So can't complain at that. Oh, thoughts on the game? It wouldn't have been so bad finding a taxi if England had won. It would have been like on a high, but man, we played so well, and just like I don't know what England have to do to get over the line. But there's always 2 years, Euros, and 4 years time. I feel like we'll get there soon enough. That was the voice of a slightly depressed, very tired England fan. But I actually am really optimistic after watching that performance that we have got a really good future ahead of like the England team, and I'm going to call it now. With Southgate in charge, I know he gets a lot of stick, but I genuinely think we could win the Euros and do a Spain, possibly win the World Cup after that. Maybe I'm being a bit mad and optimistic, but it's the first time I've felt like that. I genuinely thought this was our tournament too, but wasn't to be. And yeah, but I'm going to be trying to get Euro tickets for next year, as I genuinely see like a possibility that England could go all the way with the young squad they have. So despite being depressed there, I did feel that we had a chance, so I didn't go away from it completely like distraught like I might have done in previous tournaments if I'd been there. That'll be the end for part one. That was mainly football focused, but as England got knocked out, I did go to a few more games, but mainly the sort of shift came away from watching England to more just enjoying the whole of Qatar. So watch out for the next sort of episodes where I'll be looking at sort of the souks, going to a few mosques, and just generally exploring the country and the food. As I say, amazing trip. I absolutely loved it, and I hope that came across in the video. And yeah, as a sports fanatic, this was a real dream of mine, and yeah, I really hope that I can get to some more sort of major events like this in the future. As I said, I'm looking to go to the Euros in a couple of years' time, and I'm already exploring the opportunity to go to America in 4 years. As I loved it so much, it was sort of a dream come true, and it was sort of better than I expected. Hopefully it's also given you a bit of an idea about access in Qatar. It's probably going to change a bit after the World Cup, but I just really hope they keep things like the taxis. The hotel infrastructure is pretty good, so I would say, yeah, consider a trip there, especially if you're sort of going through the country on a layover. I would consider having a couple of days there just because the food was good, the culture's interesting, and yeah, consider it. I had never really thought about the Middle East before, but I really enjoyed my time there. So look out for part 2, and that'll be it for now. Please like, share, and subscribe if you've enjoyed this one. Yeah, it really helps me out, and I'm hoping to do a lot more things this year. I've got the Six Nations coming up. I'll do a bit of filming around that. But yeah, hope to see you all soon, and yeah, have a good week.